What if I told you that a chance encounter with a millionaire would unlock the mystery of your past and change everything? Stay tuned to find out how a simple photograph brought two strangers together in a way no one could ever predict. If you want to hear more unbelievable stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our journey. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Jasmine Matthews had been working as a waitress for nearly 5 years. Life had been tough, and while she loved her job, she couldn't help but dream of something more. Raised in the rough neighborhoods of New Orleans, she learned early that success was not handed out freely. But today, as she stepped into the luxurious mansion of the millionaire businessman Charles Montgomery, her life would change forever. The encounter would make her question everything she knew about fate, identity, and destiny. Jasmine had always been proud of where she came from. Raised by a single mother, she never had much. But her mother always ensured that Jasmine understood the value of hard work, kindness, and dreams. They lived in a small apartment on the outskirts of New Orleans, where the sounds of jazz and distant street noise were the backdrop of their lives. Despite the challenges, Jasmine's mother always made sure that her daughter stayed focused on her education. Growing up, Jasmine was naturally bright. She loved school and did everything in her power to excel, but like many in her community, her dreams were often squashed by the reality of their financial situation. Scholarships were scarce, and opportunities even scarcer. Her mother worked long shifts at a local diner, and Jasmine often stayed home, studying hard, hoping for a better future. It was during these lonely nights that Jasmine started waiting tables herself at the same diner where her mother worked. The restaurant wasn't fancy, but it paid the bills, and Jasmine was determined to make it work. She was 21 years old when she began serving people their meals. But it wasn't the job that defined her, it was the hope that one day she'd escape the cycle of poverty. Fast forward to the present. After years of hard work, Jasmine found herself working at a high-end restaurant in the heart of New Orleans. This wasn't the diner her mother worked at, but a posh establishment frequented by the rich and powerful. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid well, and the tips were generous. One evening, she was assigned to serve a special guest, Charles Montgomery, a wealthy businessman who had made his fortune in real estate. He was known for his success, and his presence in the restaurant was always an event in itself. Jasmine, ever the professional, made sure to greet him with a smile and offer impeccable service. As the night went on, the two struck up a conversation. Montgomery seemed different from the usual rich clients Jasmine interacted with. He wasn't condescending, nor was he aloof. He was warm, engaging, and seemed genuinely interested in her life. She told him a little about her background, and in turn, he shared stories of his childhood and rise to success. Before he left the restaurant, Montgomery told her he was hosting an exclusive event at his mansion and invited her to attend. He even mentioned that he'd love for her to bring her mother along. Jasmine was stunned. She had never been invited to a millionaire's house before, but her curiosity and respect for the man made her accept the invitation. The day of the event, Jasmine could hardly believe it. Dressed in her best dress, she and her mother arrived at the grand mansion on the outskirts of the city. The house was unlike anything Jasmine had ever seen. Marble floors, chandeliers that sparkled like diamonds, and walls adorned with artwork from famous artists. It was a world away from the small apartment she grew up in. They were greeted by the staff and ushered into the living room where Montgomery was entertaining a select group of guests. The mansion was filled with a mix of laughter, soft music, and the clinking of glasses. Jasmine's mother, who was more accustomed to small family gatherings, was in awe, and Jasmine couldn't help but feel out of place. As they made their way through the house, admiring the beauty of it all, something caught Jasmine's eye. On the wall in the hallway was a framed photograph of a young girl. She looked closely at it, and her heart stopped. The girl in the picture was none other than her young Jasmine, no older than 6 years old. Her mother saw her reaction and whispered, "Is that you?" Jasmine nodded, but the confusion in her eyes was evident. She approached the photograph, unsure of what she was seeing. The picture was taken in front of a humble house, and she recognized the background immediately. It was the old neighborhood where she grew up, the very same place she and her mother had lived years ago. The memories flooded back: the small street, the house with peeling paint, and the old bicycle she used to ride. She turned to Montgomery, who had approached behind her. How do you have this picture?" Jasmine asked, her voice trembling. Montgomery smiled softly, his eyes filled with something she couldn't quite place. "Jasmine, that photograph was taken at a community event back in the early 90s. It was a charity event in your neighborhood. I was there with my parents, and I remember meeting a sweet little girl who was so full of hope and dreams. She had this bright, infectious energy. That was you, wasn't it?" Jasmine was stunned. She had no memory of Montgomery, but she remembered that event. It had been a small fundraiser to help children in the community, and her mother had taken her there. But why would Montgomery remember her from all those years ago? And why had he kept the picture? Montgomery continued, "I've kept that picture for years. It was a reminder to me of how important it is to give back to the community. I've never forgotten that face your face. It inspired me." As Jasmine processed what Montgomery had just said, She couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. This millionaire, who had everything he could ever want, had kept a photo of her, an ordinary girl from the projects, as a reminder of the good in the world. It was surreal. How had he kept track of her all these years? Did he somehow know she would make it this far? Montgomery reached into his pocket and handed her an envelope. "This is for you," he said. Jasmine hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a check for $50,000. "I know you've worked hard all these years," Montgomery explained, "but I want to help you take the next step. This is for you to pursue your dreams, whether it's going back to school, starting a business, or anything else you want." Tears welled up in Jasmine's eyes. She had never expected anything like this. She had worked for every penny she earned, but here was someone who barely knew her, offering her a chance at a new life. Jasmine Matthews left Montgomery's mansion that evening not just with a check in her hand, but with a newfound sense of purpose. She realized that life sometimes had a way of bringing things full circle in the most unexpected ways. The little girl in the picture had come a long way, but the journey was far from over. The millionaire's house, the photo, and the check were just the beginning. Jasmine knew that her story was one of resilience and hope, a reminder that no matter where you come from, you can always reach for the stars. And as she walked out into the cool night, hand in hand with her mother, Jasmine knew that her destiny was no longer just a dream. It was a reality, unfolding before her eyes. Wow, what an incredible journey we've just witnessed. From a childhood photograph to a life-changing moment, sometimes destiny works in the most unexpected ways. If this story moved you, just imagine the ones we have yet to share. But the best part, you're a part of it now. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. Trust me, you'll want to be here for what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and remember, life is full of surprises, and you never know when yours might be waiting around the corner.